Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is Sizzline, powered by Fit to be Trained, coming to you from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the United States of America. You can find this program on deependbroadcasting.com and subscribe to this network's YouTube channel, Deep End Broadcasting. So no more 757,
no
right?
more 757.
Right. I feel like I remembered that. So Deep End Broadcasting. That's all you need, friends.
And I have all your social media web addresses on the screen right now.
I know. Fit to be trained. I get sick of it. But I mean, I love my business. I just get, like all the time, I have to say. I do. I'm sure I feel like my friends get sick of it too. Plus, it's all over my house and it's on my sweatshirt. It's just everywhere. I can't get away from it. But breaking news. I want to talk about something really fun today. I think is really fun. And in fact, I went down a rabbit hole kind of. I started out where I really wanted to do the subject of talking about the new apps and gadgets and different weight training stuff or different fitness stuff out. And
ways to log your workouts and your meals. And stuff
I went down there and that's what I started with. And then I thought about like why I even wanted to talk about this was because I just did a job the other day. Well, I've been working on a job for the last couple of weeks. I'm a fitness trainer by trade, and I go to people's houses sometimes, and they'll have all this fitness equipment, and sometimes they know what to do, sometimes they don't. And my job is to do programming for them and help them get them on their way or continue working or put together a home gym or just all things fitness. That's kind of my job. So yeah, there's a plug for me right there. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this stuff is because this lady had a Bowflex and a Bowflex and a Total Gym.
Old school.
And like Bowflex, I didn't know much about. I mean, I remember them, like they were big.
I can picture the commercials now.
Me
it's
too.
the thing with the bars in the back.
Yeah. That big fan thing.
And you move the cable to the different bars for the different weights, right?
Yeah, you sure do. And it was big. Like I had to train somebody, in my 30s that had a Bowflex, and it was like kind of cool then, because I was like, oh yeah, I've never used one of these.
They preach resistance training. I mean, that's all that thing is, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like both, eccentric, concentric, and eccentric because it's pulling both directions, which is why it was such a big, kind of a popular item. It's just it was big, so you had to have a big space.
Right.
It's tall. So then, things were getting more compact.
I have to have it in the garage or whatever.
Yeah. So it probably I think that's one of the reasons why it might not have made it. But, and I guess in this case, I'm going to go a little bit out of order since we're on the Bowflex. It was invented back in 1986 by Tassima Dosho Shifarah, an Ethiopian engineering student in the United States. Instead of using conventional weights, the original Bowflex machine utilized polymer rods to create constant resistance or tension. So that eccentric, concentric, up and down people, that's all that means. That's fancy for like pulling up on a bicep curl and then your resistance on the way down. This innovative approach revolutionized home fitness equipment. So that's what's cool about being a mature adult in the fitness business is I got to see it evolve. I remember I was 19 years old when I went on a Nautilus. But let me back this up. And I started with weight training as a concept has ancient origins. The practice of lifting weights to build strength dates back to ancient civilizations, like where it comes to mind, and right away for me was Greece, because you think of the Olympics, and And that's correct. And Egypt and Greece. However, the modern approach to weight training and the development of weight machines can be attributed to several key figures. Ancient Greece, the Greeks used various forms of resistance training, lifting stones and weights. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, I guess if you're thinking back then, what do we do? Our muscles are getting bigger. Why? Oh, you picked up that big rock a bunch of times. Okay,
I
let's
know, right?
continue to do that.
And then go figure that the Egyptians,
Don't hurt your back.
does that have something to do with the pyramids? Look how much they lifted. The Egyptians.
That's a subject for Inquisition unknown question.
I know, I agree.
There's no way humans could lift those stones.
I know, right? That's always been, that's a different.
I don't care
podcast.
what anyone says. Casting them, lifting them, that ain't happening.
And
Jack.
making them into a triangle, it's really difficult. But the next one for weight training is Eugene Sandow. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Eugene Sandow, known, and let me spell that because I don't know if I'm saying it correct. Sandow, known as the father of modern bodybuilding, popularized weight training. He promoted the use of dumbbells and barbells and emphasized the importance of physical fitness. And it's funny because I feel like I am old enough at 58 that I should know about Eugene Sandow, but I don't. I think of Joe Weider and Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're the grandfathers of bodybuilding, but they're not. Eugene Sandow is. So, interesting fun fact. Steve, you're awful quiet over there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm reading through these notes. I mean, all this
kind of
history is very
interesting.
informative.
I know it's kind of I know I went down a rabbit hole. In fact, like I said, I started out, I was going to do apps and stuff, and I was like, man, and I went back into history, and then it just, here we are. I don't even think I mentioned an app the whole show. That's a different. Yeah, this was interesting to me. Arthur Jones is another name, and he's from the 1970s. And this is where I come in with the Nautilus. I remember being 19 years old, and my pal was working at a gym. Okay, in the 1970s, Arthur Jones revolutionized weight training with the invention of Nautilus exercise machines. His machines use variable resistance to match the strength curve of muscles, making workouts more efficient. God, I remember that. And that's like weight training. Like I was following Rachel McClish. I wanted to look like her. Corey Everson. That was like early.
Yeah, she was on.
girl.
Yeah, she had an ESPN show as well.
Oh my God. I mean,
Do you
this
remember
one
that?
of my idols. Yes.
Every
she
morning
had
when you
already
wake up,
made it.
there'd be
Yeah.
the gym shows on ESPN or ESPN2. In fact, Kiana, do you remember her?
Yes, Kiana, the Hawaiian girl. Yeah, that's a little later. Or is it?
She's on my Facebook. I should ask her if she wants to come onto the show. That would be an interesting guest to be.
Oh my God, I would love that.
For many reasons, more than one.
I'd be so starstruck. I would be so starstruck.
Yeah. I'll ask her. In fact, I'll just email now since we're discussing.
Oh my gosh. So exciting. But anyway, now I'm off track. Kiana. Oh God, there's all kinds of those fitness stars.
Lay it down and smack 'em, yak 'em.
All kinds of those fitness stars from my past. Okay, where am I? I actually literally am like starstruck. I'm like, Kiana?
Yeah, no, I see
Arthur
Tony Little on
Jones.
here. I mean,
Oh, I know. Isn't it fun? Okay, so we just talked about the Bowflex. So that was 1986.
Yep.
Arthur Jones, let's go back to the 70s. I repeat, that's the Nautilus machines. And that was a big invention. That was really big. I mean, because that literally did revolutionize things from bodybuilding because you could use
So
that.
that's you mean the Nautilus machine? You still see Nautilus as a name out there.
Oh
name
yeah,
brand.
yeah,
So,
and those machines are still, copycatted by other name brands all over gyms. Like I miss a leg press. I miss.
yeah, so these are like your basic 5 different station type of thing with like the plates you put the
chest
peg
press.
in.
Remember me.
Yep.
I mean,
The
and
fly
some
machine,
of them are
yep.
outdated. And
Yep.
remember, like lat pull down, we would pull it down behind.
I-
But now you don't do
So
that. You pull it
honestly,
down in front.
I wish that gym, like the CrossFit gym,
I know.
The one thing that they don't have, and you can kind of rig it in there if you want to do it over the pull-up bar or make it happen. But that lat pull-down machine,
Yeah.
that thing works,
I
man.
know.
That's
do
the
miss
one
it.
thing I miss because it gives you that V taper. And
Well,
I
you
noticed
gotta
those are big
do-
muscles that are hard to work unless you do that kind of exercise specifically.
Well, I do pull-ups as much as I can in
Pull-ups
there
would be the other way to do that.
with
yes,
a
yes.
band
Yeah.
because I have to, but I do it with the band because I stay strict
Right.
even when the other people are doing kipping and all that, even if the workout calls for it, because I stick with strict to get my lats because I have such a square body. I'm always trying to get my lats bigger because I'm trying to make my waist look smaller.
At some point, I was actually getting decent pull-ups, and I can't come close to one right now.
It's like I can't do it without a band, never could, but I stick with strict because once you're kipping, you're kind of out of that anyway. You want to be in the lat. But yeah, the Nautilus machine, the row, my favorite thing is the Smith machine, but I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole again. Okay, so the Bowflex was at this lady's house, so I got to redo a workout, and for her, she was I was focusing on posterior training with her, and so the Bowflex has tons of exercises you can do, and it was really cool to remind myself and get to work on that thing again in 2025. And she also had a Total Gym, and a Total Gym is still advertised on TV. I mean, you still see them selling it. And when my father,
That's the Chuck Norris, right?
that's Chuck Norris, the man. When my dad said to me, God, that was probably 15 years ago, he was like, here, what should I get for the house? I don't have a lot of space. I was like, Dad, get one of those Total Gyms because you can slip it under your bed. Those things are so good. And I turned out to be a Pilates reformer person, which it's kind of similar to that, but it reminds me back, God, again, in my 25, 30 years ago, I was in Malibu, California. And the Total Gym, let me go back. It was invented in San Diego, but I was in Malibu, and it was invented all the way back in 1974. And this is like late 90s. And I think the Total Gym kind of had a comeback back in the late 90s if it was invented back in 1974. That's kind of shocking. But anyway, I was at this fitness conference camp kind of thing in Malibu, and the Total Gym people came in, and they were kind of small. They were compact, the Total Gyms.
I mean, it's basically like a Pilates.
And now they've made
machine,
them
right?
bigger and longer, but it was real small when it first came out. And I was like, what are these guys going to do? What's this thing? I wasn't judgy. I wasn't thinking like, oh, yeah, but oh my God, they kicked our ass. And ever since then, I've had the ultimate respect for that piece of equipment. Then I went on myself to become Pilates educated heavily in Pilates because of physical therapy. And that is very similar theory. The Total Gym is by height, it goes up and down in height. That's your resistance, where Pilates uses springs, but it's still on a sliding. So it's kind of similar. And what makes it more similar rather than the actual machine is the actual exercises are very, very similar to the Pilates reformer. What's a Pilates reformer? Well, let me tell you, people. Look, I'm getting all my paperwork all mixed up. The Pilates reformer was invented by Joseph Pilates in the early 1900s. You believe that? 1900s. Like, talk about a dude that was before his time. And that's what attracted me to Pilates. I was 30 years old and my back was killing me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so young. What am I going to do? And I loved fitness and I loved athletics. And what am I going to do? Oh no. And so I was going to yoga. And yoga would help me temporarily, but, because back then I was running and lifting weights and doing like videos. Corey Everson, Rachel McClish videos. There was a lot of not 8 tracks. I didn't mean to say that. VHS videos back then. and I was training too. And but for my own fitness, that's what I was doing. And my back was killing me. So I went to I went to yoga, and that would help me for, that day. And then Pilates, I was like, what's that stuff? And I went to a Pilates trainer, and I was on a reformer, and I hated it. And it took some time, but not very long. A couple weeks is it. And I was fixed. And what it was is that my core was really weak, even though I looked good. I was young, and so I looked fit. My arms were buff, my legs were buff. I even probably had abs, but I really didn't have a good, strong core. Sometimes looks are deceiving. And once I got my core straight, my back stopped hurting. And so I knew then that I had to spread the word. So I became a mat trainer, and then a Pilates reformer trainer, but I didn't mean to make it about me. What I wanted to talk about was the piece of equipment. Joseph Pilates, a German physical trainer, designed the reformer as part of his comprehensive system of physical exercise known as Controlology. The reformer was initially created to help rehabilitate injured soldiers during World War I by attaching springs to hospital beds. That's fascinating, I know. And that's a great story. I just have heard controversial stuff about that story. Nothing good, nothing bad, just because I've done so much research on Pilates. So I'm like I said, that's a whole different podcast, but I just think it's interesting how different pieces of equipment have come and gone, how some have really stuck around. And Pilates, we know, is very trendy now. You hear a lot about it, and it's been around since the 1900s. And now Pilates is very, very trendy. And I know a lot of trainers would be like, oh, Joseph wouldn't really approve. And I disagree. I think he would. Any way to get the word out, like Club Pilates, believe it or not, was founded back in 2007. Like, a lot of these pieces of equipment are a lot older than when they became popular. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did I get a little bit?
I mean, well, so when I rented a place down at the oceanfront, back at the old Surf Shack, 68th Street, in the detached garage, there sat both the Bowflex,
Oh, wow.
and the Chuck Norris machine.
Oh, wow. Good taste.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
apparently this client that I
And it
just
was
worked
awesome.
for.
You could feel the Chuck Norris. What's that thing? What are we calling this?
Total Gym.
Yeah, the Total Gym. Sorry. You could feel rep number 1.
I know, right?
How hard it is. Is that how it is in Pilates?
Yeah. Pilates it's so much core training, which is really deceitful, because I like core. You always hear about it. I like eye roll. I get so strengthen your core. Your core is there's so much to your core. Like, your inner thighs are your core.
Right.
People think it's all just your abs. It's not. It's your lats, like we were just talking about for the pull-up. That's a big core muscle, believe it or not, because
yeah.
that's got a fire. Pelvic floor is core. So Pilates is about control. And so that's why. And I think the Total Gym requires you to use a lot of control, because its weight variances by the height. And like, my first degree was in I was an architectural drafter, so I had to take trigonometry. So everything
Really? You're smart. Got the brains too.
I do. I know a lot of people don't know that about me. But anyway, so that everything's in a triangle in trigonometry. There's
Right.
7 formulas, and so the Total Gym is basically a triangle at different, at different levels, which makes the weight harder or easier.
I think that makes a lot of I've never thought about it in that aspect, and I'm a good geometry guy myself.
Oh yeah, okay.
I practice,
cool.
and the one sport that I've always applied geometry to is I guess if it is a sport, I guess it is pool.
Oh,
Simple enough, you know,
That makes
angles
sense.
and everything.
Absolutely.
And I know about changing the elevation in your bench press from a flat bench,
Absolutely.
and then there's the inclined. But sometimes
Yeah.
there's too much incline.
Right.
Sometimes it's better for what you're trying to do, instead of using like the full-on bench that folds all the way 3/4 up or whatever. Just take the flat bench and put it on a plate, so it's barely off the ground, you know. So I appreciate the whole angle trigonometry aspect to weightlifting. I need to apply more of that.
Well, it's funny because I went to college for that first and was totally into it. And then I got out in the field and I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking boring. And that was back to the martini lunches. And I had issues with drinking anyway. Like I wasn't one that was able to have one or two and stop. So, yeah. Exactly. And I was young, I'm in my 20s, like you don't have as much self-control. At least I didn't. Oh my God. So, yeah, by the time I was 30, I decided that I really wasn't that happy in that career. And my father, even though I liked it, I ended up in the engineering world because, I was good at all those angles and weights and measures. And so my father had said to me, make sure you like what you're doing because you got to be in there 10 hours a day, most likely. Most careers, it really, people think it's 8, it's really 10.
Right.
So I quit drafting because I didn't want to be in there if I didn't like it. And I started working in a bar full time. And I went to rehab and got sober, all in that order. If you can imagine, like I really, I went to rehab. I was like, I'm going to quit drinking. I'm not going into my 30s as an alcoholic. I'm going to fix this. And then I realized that my job, I wasn't that happy in my job. And then, so then you drink. And so I quit that job and I was like, what does make me happy? I love partying in bars. So I wasn't drinking anymore. So I was working in a bar full time. It was supposed to be for a little while and it ended up being like all the way through to my 40s. But I opened a fitness business on the side. Like actually the bartending was on the side, but
I think I've had one day of drinks, I think, in the last 3 weeks or so.
What?
Is that
good job.
I just want to say 2 for the month of February. The Super Bowl weekend, we could have maybe had a little bit extra on a night or two, on a second night or so.
Good job.
So,
I didn't want to say anything because I remember we talked about that. Like I was going to try and get on the Pilates Reformer and I did horrible for a little while. And I was like, I wonder how, because you were like, I'm going to try and ease up on drinking. And I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, no. Yeah. I think overall you got to chalk it up as a win.
Good. Well, I can, but I still didn't do what my goal was. But I still can chalk it up as a win because I did get on my Pilates Reformer.
I think of it this way. And people think of it this way in terms of your meals and your healthy meals as well. And this is a good way to do things. Simply put on a dry erase board Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And for every day you don't drink, put an X or a check mark, actually put a check mark because that's the goal that you accomplish.
And your drink can be anything. It can be chips. Like for me, my don't drink, mine is I keep eating chips and God, they make me tear my stomach up.
So with the food as well. So I'll get to that in a second. So if you drink once a month and you basically look at the whole calendar at the end of the year, basically you have drank 12 times out of 365. Is that a win? I'd say that's a win.
Oh my God.
If you drank twice a month, 24 out of 365 days, is that a win? I'd say that's a win, kind of, to be honest. Still,
It's kind
At
of
the end of the day.
hilarious that we're talking about
Um,
drinking because if I drank right now, I'd be drunk for 4 days straight because I've been stressed out, but I'm actually not. Like I'm kind of coming out of that phase. But I kept joking. I was like, man, thank God I don't drink. I'd be blacked out for 4 days. God.
Well, so if you do it every day or once a week, that's 52 check marks out of 365. Yes, that's kind of falling off the track there
Are you
for the most part,
serious?
but
I
that's
don't
actually
think
pretty
so.
good. Yeah. It's actually probably pretty good, and you're only drinking at that point a percentage of like 13%
I know this is
of,
a
of,
health
of,
and
of,
wellness
of,
show.
of the days.
I do know that this is a health and wellness show, and I know that and hey, look at me. I'm in recovery for alcoholism. So obviously I'm out of this conversation. I can't drink alcohol at all, but that's because of a chemical imbalance or whatever in my system. I feel like I don't metabolize alcohol well. So I made a choice not to. I can drink all I want. I just choose not to. But if you don't have alcoholism and you're not driving, I'm well aware that alcohol is not good for us, right?
Mhm.
Like scientifically, it's not. But there is some benefits to, maybe not over serving yourself in one session, but there's benefits of relaxation, fun.
Right.
I'm not
right.
saying that alcohol is fun because I get to still have fun
And a lot
without
of
it.
that's why I think a lot of people try to drink at the end of the day is they want to go out and have laughs with their friends,
And lucky for me,
etc.
I
And that's
can.
fine. The problem is when you overdo that,
Right.
and you're not going out laughing, you're just waking up with a headache, and then the domino effects of eating bad might last a day or two or whatever, and that messes everything else up, etc. Food wise, on the check mark X mark, think of it this way: if you have 3 spots on your, let's just say 3 meals a day is your common thing. Try to eat 4 and with a healthy snack. All right, to speed up the metabolism. So figure 4 slots: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. And if you do good for that meal, give yourself a check mark. And the idea is to have as little X's at the end of the week as you can. But the deal is, if you kind of eat pretty good, like I put all my vegetables in at lunch, I eat a healthy breakfast, I had a healthy snack. Okay, I want a cheeseburger for dinner and mashed potatoes. That's going to be fine at the end of the day for what you're doing, because you are check marking so much more than Xing at the end of the week. Then that's fine. You're allowed to do that. And you know what? Some of those nights for dinner, get your chicken and your broccoli so you give yourself that extra check mark, etc. And that is kind of part of the show too. We were talking about apps and exercise fidgets, right? Is that
Or
what you call them?
gadgets.
Gadgets.
But like I said, I never even
Yeah.
got to it.
So a logbook that you simply write in, or a dry erase board with X's and O's, that's
Right.
the same thing. That falls in line with everything that we're talking about. And give yourself a check mark and reward yourself if you eat a salad for lunch. If you eat avocado and eggs for avocado toast and eggs for breakfast, give yourself a check mark. Let yourself see these check marks and know that if you do something bad, okay, we were working, I was out with friends, they all wanted to go to Chick-fil-A, and I decided to get waffle fries and 2 chicken sandwiches and even a Diet Coke or whatever, who knows. All right, you get your X mark there, but end of the week, as long as you have so 7 days a week, 4 places for check marks, that's 28. As long as you have 23, 22, 21 checks to 7 X's, that's going to be pretty good at the end of the day, health-wise, I think.
That is good. That's very good.
And that allows you to fall off a little bit.
X's and O's.
Yeah.
I want to do a fun fact.
All right, what's that?
Tony Little Tony
Ah, yes.
Little.
We
Does
remember
anybody remember Tony Little? Okay, Tony Little was the guy. He's the Giselle guy
Yeah,
or
and
Gazelle guy
if
from
you
the late.
think of the infomercials back in the day, people, because that's
It
what it
says
was on a
late
lot.
90s.
Yep.
I'm stunned. I would have swore it was late 80s.
Well, the people I remember people dressing up as him in college for Halloween or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And he is. This might not be true anymore, but I remember looking up like who was the wealthiest fitness person, like who was it? And Arnold's not in there because Arnold he's not really in fitness. He wouldn't be a candidate. It would be like fitness trainers like Tony Little or oh God, there's so many. Richard Simmons and all those ones that made it famously. And who is the wealthiest, or the P90X guy, remember him?
Yep.
I always said he was my work husband because he talks a lot. he talks a lot, but he also had a button on his DVDs that you could turn his voice off. I was like, I love that guy. Like he knows that he talks a lot and that he might be annoying. That's exactly how I am. But anyway, Tony Little popped up as the wealthiest fitness trainer. And the reason being was because he was able to get on the QVC channel and sell products.
That's right. That's what he was on.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So yay, Tony Little. Remember he used to get made fun of because of the like you said, the way he would dress, and he'd be on the Gazelle and he was like, you can do it. Here's his little write-up. Tony Little, known for his enthusiastic infomercials and motivational catchphrases. You can do it. Revolutionized home fitness with the Gazelle. The Gazelle, an elliptical trainer. I didn't realize really that's what it was because remember it used to.
I don't remember this. Oh, you know what? I do remember that.
Yes,
now.
you do.
Yeah,
and elliptical goes in a circle where the Gazelle was. But I guess it was revolutionary for the elliptical.
My mom was a big QVCer back in the day, so
yeah. So you
we
saw
could be walking
him
in and see that.
Yeah, you'd come into her house and Tony would be on the TV. He had massive. Okay, I'm sorry. The Gazelle, an elliptical trainer developed by Fitness Quest, and I recognize that name brand too, became a massive success, generating 1.5 billion in revenue. Tony Little's innovative approach and captivating personality helped make the Gazelle one of the most recognizable and successful fitness products. I just love that guy. I love anybody that makes it in fitness. I just love it. It makes me so happy because it is a super fun job. It's a fun job, but you don't always get to make $1 million. So when somebody gets to make $1 million, I'm like, that's so cool. And Tony made $1 billion. He didn't play. Okay. So, getting back to, fitness gadgets, or actually these aren't gadgets. That's how it started. I was supposed to do stuff on apps and gadgets, and look what I got into.
Influencing
equipment.
Exercise machines.
Yeah, I got into the equipment stuff, and it was just so fun. I just couldn't stop. And we can always do apps and gadgets later because they're cool. There's a lot of them. That's where I started, like I said, but then I got into this. The Peloton, like remember earlier how I said a lot of this stuff came out a lot earlier than when it became famous. So that helps me at 58 years old. Maybe I still am gonna get to become some famous online trainer because look, the Peloton was founded in 2012. We didn't even hear about it until 2020 when COVID came out. Or Mr. Big on Sex and the City. I don't mean to, give away anything, but he died on his Peloton. I know. I'm a big Sex and the City girl. Yes, our Mr. Big died on his Peloton. So that was like, and I'm pretty sure it was during COVID. Like they were filming those movies.
Shocking.
Yeah. So Peloton came out in 2012 and it was invented by John Foley, along with co-founders Tom Cortese, Hoshio Kushi, and I apologize to anyone if I'm saying their name wrong, Yoni Feng, and Graham Stanton. The company revolutionized home fitness by combining cutting edge technology with interactive exercise equipment. So, in other words, all the classes.
The TV on your.
I think
mic.
that's cool, allowing users to join live and on demand classes from the comfort of their homes, and popularity surged during COVID. I got my papers all mixed up. COVID in the pandemic with gyms closed. So blah, 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 blah. I don't even need to tell you anymore. Everybody knows. I lost some of my favorite client. I had this, it was a family. So there was a head of the household. And then I worked for this family and we were doing Pilates reformer and doing a lot of Pilates stuff. And then COVID hit.
Some people swear by that thing. They love it.
And he bought a Peloton. And COVID hit, and then he, I worked for him, his wife, his kids. It was a great job, just a great job. Beautiful home, living large, fitness trainer to the whole family. And then COVID hit, and he bought a Peloton, and I was out. I was like, oh my God. I was like, so I always joke, yep, I lost a job to Peloton. And here's another interesting tidbit. As a fitness trainer, I went in to see if I could get a job with Peloton because I thought, man, with all my experience, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Those trainers don't leave because Peloton apparently treats their people pretty well.
Oh, wow. They pay them good.
Yeah, they pay them good. It's not like there's a high turnover. So it's kind of cool, kind of little. I'd like to actually, now that we talked about it, I might try again.
Yeah. Do they have a media relations department? Let me look.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's fun. I mean, these companies are all people like us that just made it. I mean, some people are really business people and they're just in it for the money. But there's a lot of times where it's somebody that's really just a fitness person that's like, damn, check this out. I made it. And I think it's super clever. I've always had respect for the guy that has the purple gyms, Planet Fitness. I mean, how smart of a concept is that? But he might be a businessman. I don't think he's a fitness person. He might just be good at business, making it so cheap that people don't cancel. Right. But I just wanted to do this show on, like I said, apps and gadgets. So coming soon is apps and gadgets, because then I went down the rabbit hole, especially when I just had that job where I got to program this lady's home gym and, do all this cool stuff in her space and then write programs for those two cool pieces of ageless equipment, because some equipment really never goes out of style. Like, me and my friends constantly.
I think everything you just mentioned served its function, not only for its time, but if you still had that machine now, I mean, you can still get a good workout out.
Oh yeah, she is. I just wrote programming for it. And, now with all the internet stuff and AI and all that, like, I didn't get pictures and stuff, but it wasn't hard to find information on these, and how to program. I mean, I had to do a little bit of research and a little bit of work, but not like we would have in the old days where I had to really, button down, and I'd have to like research, try and find the manual, for those pieces of equipment. But it was a fun job, and it's not over yet. Now we're going to do ongoing training, but she just wanted a program with her the equipment that she had. But with that, I am finito. I'm finished. I can't think of anything. I'm looking, even though my papers did get kind of messed up here. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Pilates is my jam. I love it. I love it. I love to hate it.
I mean, honestly, that's what I'm getting more out of this show than anything, is that Pilates has taken a lot of these machines and it's kind of morphed itself into that one big category almost in a way.
Well, it's
But
funny
like, how
because
long
it's
has
so
Pilates
true.
been known as Pilates?
Well,
Did you already say that here?
Some in the 1900s. I mean, Joseph Pilates is the thing. They kind of like, a lot of us as trainers that have known it for many, many years actually have snooted up and been like, they have marketed this. Now they're, what is it? Like, what am I trying to say when they give it to the masses? They,
Right.
but I actually, people have, people that are really true classical Pilates historians might not appreciate how the education level has probably changed. I'm not really sure. I'm afraid to speak on that because I would hate if I insulted another trainer, and I don't know enough about Club Pilates to say I've gone there and I've taken classes and they've been fun. And they're not necessarily all Pilates. There are other fitness tools involved, and it makes for a really, really super duper wow fun class. I will say that I've been there more than once and enjoyed myself. And even I will say this, when I've traveled, I actually wanted one of the trainers to take over my clients so they could have some fun when I was traveling, because I'm always teaching straight up Pilates, that it's fun to incorporate different theories and different pieces of equipment. But what I wanted to touch on is that it was founded back in 2007 and it's really popular right now. So again, another, and this is Club Pilates, which you see that's popping up everywhere. And that really introduces the reformer at a more efficient rate. But it's because Pilates can tend to feel like it's expensive. And I just saw something written up about it. Why is it so expensive?
Because the name sounds fancy in a way to me.
Well,
so it almost sounds like it's a little posh.
It is.
But it's honestly, it's something I want to get into. I think that would be great for
it's
me.
It's actually really, really cool. Come down to my place and I'll show you the reformer, and you'd really, really like it. More and more sports teams are getting involved with it. It's control, which is so good for athletics in so many different ways.
I bet it's a great active recovery.
It really, that's what I try and use it for, because I love CrossFit so much. So I try and do all my lightweight, small, everything's pulleys. And we already talked about how everything moves in a triangle. So you can see where I excelled in that. I was like, oh, this is so up my alley from my previous career. But I love that you said it perfectly. It's active recovery, but there are a lot of people that just do it for strength training, and that's fine. It's whatever you like, if I learned nothing in college when I went back to school for fitness, it was do whatever the client will do. And I personally just love CrossFit, but for active mobility and to keep my smaller muscles moving so I don't get over, quad dominant, or not work my hamstrings enough or get injured in the shoulder or whatever, I have to do that active mobility, especially as I get older. And Pilates really is the go-to for that. Like, yoga is a great mobility, but I even have yoga trainers as students because they're curious. Right now I have a few because they are curious of the reformer and how it works. Like, I won't get, I'll end with this, but like we talked about triangles and stuff like that, and pulleys and springs. That's what does the reformer. But I also want you to think about, like, if you turn your feet out, or you keep them straight, or you turn out, that changes things. Or if you turn them in, that changes things. So a lot of Pilates is about keeping control in different positions, which is why it's so popular with dance. Obviously it works the core and your back, but it is a controlled form of exercise. So you're pulling in your pelvic floor and your tummy and all that good stuff. So I use it all the time, obviously, in the CrossFit gym, helping me keep my back straight, my tummy in, all that good stuff. So I deadlift properly, right? So I don't round my back out. So I'm really pulling those shoulder blades back. So another rabbit hole. I'm going to shut up now because that's just going to go. I don't. It is very, very interesting, and I think how I got on that was because I touched on Club Pilates again. I think Joseph Pilates would be happy that that people are being introduced to it in the masses, and that they're starting on the reformer and learning that style, rather than some old classical technicians of Pilates are like, oh, he'd roll in his grave. He wouldn't like the way that, it's.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. I agree with both. I get how the education kind of got skewed, but I agree with both. But with that, I'll tune out on and coming soon would be gadgets and apps. Coming soon too will be more guests. I had a great time with Sherry last week. Oh my God, what a great time.
Yes, guests are fun. Kiana's emailed. We'll see if she emails us back.
Oh my God, I'd be so starstruck. That would be amazing. But we're going to keep having guests. So tune in, and thanks for tuning in with us at Sizzling from Virginia Beach in the United States of America.
Have a good day.